My name is Beth Nixon, and I know there is truth, and there is the unbelievable, and sometimes they are the same exact thing. And I'd like to share my story with you tonight. It involves a time when I was just a child, and I was vacationing in Bermuda with my parents. My father, Gary Nubson, was a famous dentist, and my mother, Arlene Nubson, a famous geometry teacher. We were having a lovely time vacationing on the water's edge. Could you make my chart more parallel? Thank you. And we were having a lovely time frolicking on the beach and drinking fancy drinks at our hotel and using lovely smelling pink soaps at the hotel as well. And one day, as we were frolicking about on the beach in our swim trunks, my father decided to take a swim. Deep. And my mother wanted to rent a small sailboat, and she asked me to come, but I wasn't really feeling up to it. I decided instead I'd like to spend some time collecting shells. So there we were, each doing our own activity. My mother pushed the small boat offshore, and I watched it begin to glide out towards the horizon when suddenly, all of a sudden, instantly, it disappeared, vanished, gone, not a trace. It didn't glide out towards the horizon, getting smaller and smaller the way a boat should. It just simply vanished. And so I grabbed my binoculars in haste, and I scanned the horizon. Gone. Vanished. Concerned, I swam out to my father and gesticulated wildly, explaining that my mother had disappeared. He assured me that she would be fine, that she was a competent sailor, and that she would definitely return before lunch because she'd already cautioned him about leaving the egg salad sandwiches in the sun too long. But no, she didn't return for lunch. She didn't return all afternoon. We applied more sunscreen and played a few hands of gin rummy, and still, no mom. Finally, before dinner, my father called the Coast Guard. Coast Guard? Yes, my wife is missing. A small red sailboat. Nothing. We ate shrimps and waited. Nothing. All night long, we sat by the telephone in our hotel room and waited and waited and waited. And in the morning, the phone rang. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Hello? It was the sailboat rental company alerting us that they were going to charge the credit card for an extra day. My father screamed obscenities into the phone and then decided that we should do something to take our minds off this horrible situation. And so we hit the golf course. Now, we got our clubs and headed out to the green, trying to pretend that mother was simply playing croquet or doing a few laps at the pool, but we only made it to the second hole when suddenly my father lost his golf ball in a sand trap. It disappeared, gone. We got on our hands and knees and searched through the sand looking for it, pawing around in the sand, digging and digging, gone. That golf ball vanished, disappeared. Frustrated, we decided to head inside to the golf clubhouse for a refreshment. And as we walked in, there was Gloria, who had just finished vacuuming the hallway. She was one of the cleaning ladies at the hotel that I'd been getting to know during my stay there. And she tissed her finger at us for tracking in all this sand from the golf course. And so she revved up her vacuum and started vacuuming right behind us. And I was walking down the hall, my father was directly behind me when I heard a large suck. And I looked behind me, and my father was gone, vanished. And so I yelled, "Turn off the machine! Turn it off, quick, quick!" And I pounded on the stop button. And she was like, "Bernice, this is crazy, what are you doing?" And I said, "No, you have no idea, you just sucked up my father." And she said, "Please, this is ridiculous. Your father wouldn't fit down this tube. And I said, no, you don't understand. My father was right behind me. I turned around, I hear the stuff, and there he's gone. And she says, oh, this is silly. And I say, no, please, open the vacuum bag, please. And so she takes the vacuum bag, humoring me out onto the veranda so we don't mess up the hallway further. And I open the vacuum bag and I'm rooting around and I'm just finding dust balls and sand and regular vacuum bag innards until suddenly my hand lands on something very familiar. I pull it out. It is this. She says, what's this? And I say, oh, this is my father's prized possession. Something he never takes out of his pocket except to flaunt or fondle. This is the toothbrush awarded him by the American Dental Association for inventing that small vacuum that sucks the spit out of a patient's mouth so the dentist is able to work in a relatively dry oral environment and the patient does not gag on their own saliva. For inventing that, he was awarded this amazing, bejeweled golden toothbrush. And Gloria said, well, he must have dropped it, and I just vacuumed it up accidentally. I'm sorry. And I said, no, you don't understand. He would never drop it. He's in there. And so I start digging in the vacuum bag, and at that point she calls security. And there's dust flying everywhere, and security drags me out onto the curb and throws me out with my suitcases because no unaccompanied minors are allowed to stay at the hotel. And I was very unaccompanied. Friends, this began the most dark and horrendous period of my life. I was sent to live at an orphanage run by Madame Solaire, a brittle and angry woman. And in this orphanage was a small room, which was the only place I found solace. It was called the library, but it was really just a closet with 5 encyclopedias, an L, a U, a P, and 2 A's. And a phone book, and a globe, and a dead spider plant. And I would sit there and read about luau's and arthropods and umbilical cords and anything that those 5 volumes of the encyclopedia would allow me to research. But most of the time, I was sent to work in the salt mines. Each morning, all the orphans would have to board a bus and drive it, or be driven, to the salt mines. And there, we would meet up with another bus full of prisoners from the local jail. And each orphan was paired up with a prisoner and forced to mine salt. And this was a very complicated process. You see, there is a prehistoric evaporated ocean beneath Bermuda, and therein lies thousands and thousands of pounds of salt. But because of the severely unstable nature of the soil there and its sandy consistency, they are not able to dig a giant pit. They have to take a small rock drill and begin tiny holes, which only orphans are small enough to maneuver. And so we are there digging and digging daily, filling up buckets, which then the prisoners haul up of the salt and dump into a repository. And we dig again and again every day, all day long. Luckily, I was paired with a fine man named Louis, a 25-year-old roustabout from Martinique who was jailed for wounding his friend with a cutlass. And he and I had developed quite a wonderful rapport, and without him I would not be here today to share my story. But nonetheless, it was hard and grueling work. And